Good night, good night, good night, everyone. I am your host, Glenn Eversley, and welcome back to another episode of Lewwe Chat. Tonight, we're going to be talking about forgiveness starts at home. I have a special guest here with me, Jodine Dublin. But before I introduce her, I just want to remind you guys to like, subscribe, and share this stream everywhere so everyone can watch it. So Jodine, guys, Jodine Dublin hails from the lush green mountainous island of St. Vincent, gem of the Antilles, born the last of two children to her parents. She has been an official member of the New Testament Church of God for 18 years, became a Christian at the age of 7, but was a part of the church body for 25 years of her life, where she served in various roles throughout those years, such as a youth president and a Sunday school teacher, to name a few. She completed her tertiary education at the University of the West Indies Cave campus, where she completed her bachelor's in information technology and is currently employed at Takit as an associate customer service manager. She is focused on breaking her timid demeanor and stepping out of her comfort zone. No, I can tell you that's something that is definitely going to happen tonight. Jadine, welcome to Levy Chat. How are you doing?
Hi, good night, everyone. I am doing well.
Good, good, good. I see you boasting a bit in your bio there about St. Vincent. What was that all about?
Well, I have to boast about it because it's simply the best. So,
So all of my business viewers, I think we can just everyone is entitled to their own opinion, so that's fine. Yeah, right, guys. So we're going to get into defining forgiveness for you. Remember we were talking about forgiveness starts at home. So Jadine, what is your definition of forgiveness?
well, forgiveness for me is letting go of all the hurt and malice that you have inside of you towards somebody who has done you wrong and finding it in yourself to forgive them outwardly and inwardly as well. So, that is my simple definition of forgiveness.
Okay, cool. So we have some points here. Forgiveness is not merely moving on and letting go of a hurt someone has caused, but also going to the point of where you are capable of being compassionate and loving towards the same person who has hurt you. No, this is something tough because necessarily when someone hurts us, why would we even want to be compassionate towards our person who has caused us so much pain? It
Right?
seems like a logical reason, to not show this person compassion. But forgiveness breaks all of those laws of logic and all of that. So how do you feel about that, Jibin?
That is so true. It's not just about letting go, you
Right.
know. Um, because sometimes, like you're in the house as well, you have to constantly forgive for your inner peace.
Your inner peace. I hope
Yeah,
you always hear that. For your inner peace and not for the other person's necessarily.
yeah,
Yeah. So you got to remember that forgiveness is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of one's strength, and this is a constant misinterpretation that when someone is able to love like that they're being weak. How can we look at someone as being weak when they have to summon that courage to be able to forgive someone who has done so much wrong to them?
I
You know,
know because it takes a lot. It takes a lot out of you. It feels like a big burden on your shoulder to
right,
forgive someone. So it takes a lot, and that is strength, not weakness at all.
right. So Tracy, can't like compassionate and loving seems a bit of a stretch. But then this thing you have to forgive yourself as well. That's true. You really have to forgive yourself, and we're actually going to get deeper into that tonight. Right.
Yep.
And also we have that forgiveness is a choice. Now, this is something that we always have to remember. You can't just automatically forgive. That's something you have to choose to do,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
Right.
Although it's a must, you have to choose forgiveness, but it will take a while,
It
you know?
would. It
Yeah.
would. And you like to say that we're human. So yeah, it would take a while. Our fourth point is it is easier to continue portraying negative emotions and reactions after you've been wronged rather than channeling positive responses towards that person. That takes strength. So again, we just want to highlight that it takes strength to forgive.
Yep.
It is not something a weak person can do. It is definitely not something that a weak person can do. So that's something that we all need to remember. Anyone that can forgive you is strong. They're not weak,
Correct.
right? So, guys, you could share your contributions to the discussion as well. We want to hear from you. What is your definition of forgiveness? No, this is a big one for me. Yes, Berlinda, for sure. God's strength. This is
Yep.
a big one for me. This point, forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation. No, when I was preparing for this and I saw this, this is something that I actually like never well, I've probably come across it a couple of times, but I never actually paid attention to it. Where people would say forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation. Because for me personally, when I felt like I um, had to forgive someone, that also meant that I got to reconcile with this person or look to build back a relationship with that person, which is not necessarily true. Because think of it this way: if I know my dog is bite and I put my hand by my dog's mouth and it bites me, I'm gonna forgive my dog, no problem. Cool. But I am not gonna keep putting my hand there to be bitten all the time. So it's as
Exactly.
simple as that. You don't always have to reconcile with that person. You don't always have to put yourself back in a toxic situation. That is damaging in so many ways.
Correct. And I could say for myself, I actually earlier in my life, I used to think that, when you forgive somebody, you have to reconcile with them. The biggest mistake ever. Not everyone you can reconcile with. And I realized when I used to reconcile, it just used to be more damaging for me.
Mm.
So it would just get worse and worse. It would build up into greater animosity without me even knowing until it reached to a boom, it just explodes and just gets out of hand. So sometimes you have to take a step back and just say, okay, yeah, reconciliation is not a factor in this.
Yeah, because I mean, you could forgive someone, but there's something called being able to love from a distance, and I
Yeah,
feel that's important. You don't always have to be in touch with this person constantly just because you've forgiven them, you know.
yeah,
Also, you got to make sure that bitterness is still not there
yeah,
as well.
correct.
Right. So, guys, we want to encourage you to live in a constant state of forgiveness. This is required, especially when you are living with someone who might be offending you or hurting you on a regular basis. If we refrain from forgiving every time, then how can we expect God to forgive us when we fall short?
Yeah,
No. We talk about the home and living with someone who, is could be offending you in so many ways. It's like you gotta ask yourself how many times do you just say to forgive again?
yeah, 70 times
You
7.
know, it's like it could be so much.
Yeah,
So then you have to live in that constant state of forgiveness, and it's easier said than done, for sure.
yeah,
For
definitely.
sure. For sure. How would you tackle that, Jodine?
Well, for me, Um, I was living in a state of constant forgiveness one point in my life, especially in your household. I'll give you one experience. I used to have to constantly forgive my father because he loved to compare me, and that's something bad. That's something that would hurt you. So I would have to forgive because he thought was something good he was doing, by comparing, it would push you to do better.
Right.
But I had to forgive because, you know, that is just negative for me and I need my peace. So forgive and move on,
Right.
Yeah.
And you spoke about comparing just now. Your parent was doing such. You miss our parents and mental health. You sure?
I didn't miss it. I was just not, very
Okay.
interactive.
Okay. I see. I
Yeah.
see. Right. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it's hard to live in that constant state of forgiveness, but that again, that's a decision that you have to make. More so because you want that peace. You know, we would do a lot. You know, we would forgive because we would just want that peace in the whole soul, and it's necessary too. And I
Yeah.
too remember, I mean, I had my own experiences with my dad, and it took a while, but then I had to say, like, you know what, I had to stop responding a certain way. I
Yeah.
had to, because we used to clash a lot. And, things he would do a certain way, I wouldn't do a certain way. And then he wouldn't like me to do things a certain way because it's not the way he does it. So, yeah, so then I had, I grew and I understood what was going on. So then I had to say, like, you know what, this is something that might not go away. So I can't always wait on the other person to act differently. Like I had to make that change. So I had to say, okay, well, I need to change my perspective on everything that's going on and then live in a state of forgiveness. So that's something that I had to do and still do up to this day. Because I mean, no one is perfect, and that's the thing that we
Exactly.
need to remember first and foremost. That
Yep.
nobody is perfect. So we always need to walk in that constant state of forgiveness.
Yeah. And this is
But
something that we forget though. A lot of us forget that we are not perfect.
right,
Yeah.
it's true. Yeah. Good night. Good night. Good night. True forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation. There are cases where the person you forgive may have left the country or even died. That's true. That's a very interesting point. And you don't want to wait until that point. Yeah, Trey is saying true. You can't wait on the other person to apologize to forgive them. A lot of things a person doesn't feel as they have, yeah, done you anything wrong. That's true because sometimes we get offended and it's so unintentional by the other person, but we are offended. And even if we express to them that we are offended, they're like, but why? And
Yeah.
they keep trying to justify why we should not be offended instead of apologizing. But then you gotta realize you gotta be able to forgive this person. You can't wait on an apology to forgive them. But we can get deeper into that as we move on, guys. Right. So yeah, we owe others forgiveness even if they don't ask for it.
That's right. Right.
True, true, true. Keep the comments coming in, guys. We love your feedback to the discussion. Right. So we got to establish forgiveness in our hearts. It got to be something that we want to do, that we understand is important. So, firstly, it is important for you to accept that no one is perfect, and that we are to have a forgiving heart. It is necessary to know what forgiveness is, otherwise, you will not do so properly. No, a lot
Right.
of us don't know what true forgiveness is. So what will happen is, right, somebody will do something to me, and in my head, I will just say, all right, I can just forgive them. That's what we're calling it. But then when we see that person next week in Bridgetown, all that feelings and anxiety and that anger come bursting back out. So you never truly forgive that person. You thought so, but you never forgive that person yet.
I
So
know.
we need to understand what forgiveness is, before we could just say we forgive someone. Because it's easy to say we forgive someone, especially when that person is not someone you communicate with a lot. What's your
Correct.
take on that, Jodine?
Well, that is so true because I found myself not too long ago asking myself if I really and truly forgive someone that spread rumors about me. And it was just a horrible rumor. And I keep thinking about the person. And I'm like, man, I wish, they could be repaid for that. And then I said to myself, Jadine, is this forgiveness? Because I'm telling myself I forgive the person. But really and truly, I had to ponder and I was like, no, this is not forgiveness. So that is so true.
Yeah, we have to. We can't wait. We can't wait. Yeah.
Yes.
So to master forgiveness, look to the one who has forgiven you for guidance. Truth.
Yep.
No one knows true forgiveness or what true forgiveness looks like
Yeah.
when they don't. Yeah, God is ultimate. Yeah, so don't get bitter, get better. No,
Definitely.
a bitterness is something you do not want to hold on to at all. You do not want to hold on to bitterness. It ruins your life. Hey Mario, what's up? It ruins your life, and you would find a lot of the times you would get bitter, you get old and get bitter. I sure many of us have came across some elderly people who are still better about some things that happened in their younger days, and
Yep.
you don't want to be still in bondage by these things
Yeah.
in the future. Like I would expect when I'm that age, I just want to be relaxing, my head clear, and I'm not
Yes.
against nobody. I just want to be cooling. So it's important to not be bitter and focus on getting better.
Correct. Because when you're bitter, sometimes you might just, give off one nasty energy, and sometimes you're not even sure that you're giving it off, but you are because of all the bitterness that you're keeping inside. So it's better to just let that go and be better.
It's true. Thanks, Jodine. And guys, let us know what you think about that.
Yeah.
Bitterness is something that we really need to tackle. Yeah. No, we're going to talk about why is it important that we forgive others. Now, y'all can let me know in the comments what you think is important that we forgive others. Now, there's so many
Yeah.
aspects to this. There's mental, physical, emotional, and even spiritual reasons why it's important to forgive others. Now, research has shown that forgiveness is linked to mental health outcomes such as reduced anxiety, depression, or major psychiatric disorders, as well as with fewer physical health symptoms and lower mortality rates. Now, I know you guys can see the information right here, and you can even do your own research.
Yeah.
Forgiveness helps so much when it comes to your mental health. It impacts your mental health on a very serious level. So you guys can do your research about that. Jadine, do you have anything to add?
Well, that's true, but anxiety, yeah, it plays a lot on your anxiety because when you don't forgive and you see that person, I'm sure you feel a bit of antsiness. You start to get jittery and
Right,
scared, and sometimes you even get angry. You know, so it really does. So it's just best to let go, and it's hard to let go for some people. It's not easy, and
right.
it could be easy and hard. It all depends on who you are.
Yep. Sure, it's saying true, but sometimes it's so hard. It is hard, Trish, to even get past the initial feeling of being hurt by someone you trusted and loved so much. And this is exactly why it is so important, because the deeper the hurt, the more justification we try to find to not forgive the person. We can find so many reasons, but in the end, at the end of the day, it's going to affect you more than it affects that person. And that's something that we really need to understand. So Berlin is saying, yeah, you can go ahead, Jadine.
Oh, I was going to just elaborate on Trey's comment
Right,
because while I was doing this as well, I was saying to myself, it was easier to forgive. For me personally, it's easy to forgive my loved ones, and it's harder for me to forgive people I'm just, seeing them one or two times a week or even less than that. It's harder for me to forgive them than to forgive my immediate members of my family.
wow, that's interesting because for years it was the opposite for me. Like I could forgive my friends very quickly, but my family members is like, mm, I don't really know. You guys can let me know how you feel about that and how that was for you. Good
Yeah.
night, Dominique. Glad to have you watching. Right, so we go back to Berlinda's comment. She was saying we have to look at Jesus and all the good he did, and yet he was mistreated, betrayed, and crucified. And what did he do? Forgive and gave his life so that we all live.
Oh,
So, facts. Good night, Cornelius. He's saying when you refuse to forgive, you give that person the power over you. It's true. When you forgive, you take back that power. I love that. Thank you for that.
yes.
Mario is saying unforgiveness is a bondage and burden. Forgiveness is a gift to ourselves.
Definitely.
Exactly. We got to remember that forgiveness is for us. It's for your
Yep.
sanity. It's for your peace. It's for your growth. All
Yep.
right. Yeah. And unforgiveness, you think about unforgiveness, it could lead to long lasting anger that is unhealthy mentally and physically, which can then do damage on your immune system. Imagine that. So I don't think we want to, harbor unforgiveness, especially with COVID about the place. as you see it, it really has an impact on your immune system. So when you get, when you get rid of that anger, you regain your energy and your immune system can strengthen. No,
Yeah,
I think that point really speaks for itself.
correct.
Yeah. So as you guys can see, there's so much more impacts that forgiveness can have on you mentally and physically.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah. So I see some comments coming in.
yeah,
Right. So hi Rolene. I have found that forgiveness comes easier when I seek help from God. It's true. He can help us to be better and do better.
that's true.
Belinda is saying, but Jesus, not Belinda, sorry. Trey is saying, but Jesus is perfect though. We're imperfect human beings, aren't we? But we should strive to be perfect.
Exactly.
Strive. No one is saying that we're not going to fall short, but we should strive, with all
Starving.
our heart.
That's the key
Right.
word.
Also, if we want to be forgiven, we must learn to forgive.
Correct.
Right. Thank you, Belinda. Right. So Mario is saying, yeah, and that's even more reason for us to forgive Trey because we know what it's like to be an absolute
So,
mess. True.
yeah,
Thank you guys for the contributions. Soini is saying, hi, Soy. Forgiveness also means choosing to be compassionate even if you don't understand the reason for someone's actions. It takes maturity and remembering how God has forgiven our own actions.
yes.
Thank you guys. Thank you for the comments coming in. I really appreciate your feedback to the discussion. Really do. Thank you. And so many impacts emotionally forgiveness has. I mean, we don't even need to discuss this, but we will. For, especially this main one, forgiveness has a great impact in our self-esteem. I want you guys to pay attention. If you are able to come to the place to stand up to the pain that was caused and be able to show compassion towards that person, your view of yourself changes, especially if you've been struggling with low self-esteem and
Correct.
a sense of low self-worth, because you see the strength that you showed towards that person. Then you're like, wait, I really had that in me. Like I could really accomplish this to
Exactly.
somebody that hurt me. And I struggling with this low self-esteem already. Like that would boost your self-esteem so much, and that's such a positive attribute to have. What is your take on that, Jadine?
I definitely agree because when we see that strength, we could look within ourselves and say, well, if I have the strength to do this, which seemed like a daunting, task to overcome, we could go on and conquer other things.
Right.
Yeah. So it would help to build our self esteem overall, not just for forgiving people, but other aspects of our life.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure. Cornelius is saying, I'm not a medical researcher, but almost everyone I know developed colon cancer. We're carrying stress, emotional burdens, and or unforgiveness. True.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you gotta remember the mental affects the physical, and emotional affects the physical. Everything is connected. Everything is
Yeah,
connected. So that's something we really need to remember. And let me just put a disclaimer that me and Jadine are not professionals. You know,
correct.
we are two passionate young people that
Yeah,
are, we really passionate about these subjects. So even if it's trail, like guys, we really just passionate about these subjects and believe that these discussions should be had. You know,
yeah.
so thank you for joining our discussions.
Thank you.
Marty saying like I've heard it for a long time. Unforgiveness is like drinking a poison and waiting for the other person to die. On point. On
Uh,
point.
I
Right.
think I saw that quote, while looking up forgiveness quotes. I think I saw that
Yeah,
in.
that's one of the biggest. That's one of the biggest forgiveness calls.
Yeah,
Biggest. Right. On point. No, we're gonna talk about the impacts spiritually. So our forgiveness stands between you and God first and foremost. Because if you can't forgive, then God is going to be like, well, I've forgiven you. So try and tell me why you can't forgive others for their sins.
exactly.
You can't that relationship between you and God can't really flourish if you are harboring unforgiveness. And I also want to bring this up. There's no room for love when unforgiveness is in your heart. So you can't say you love one person
Yeah,
and have unforgiveness there towards another person, because it might just take for them to do the same thing that the other person did towards you, and then you unforgiving towards that person. So for you to have a loving heart, you have to be forgiven towards everybody. It just, you can't pick and choose who
Yeah,
you love. Like,
exactly.
you're either a loving person or someone who struggles to love.
Correct. That is so true.
Right. So yeah. So for example, the fact that we're all sinners, and through grace, God has given us and sees us as righteous. If God can forgive us all the awful things we have done, we in return can forgive others. Now,
Exactly.
second point: how often do we hold it against someone when they haven't apologized? When we are wronged, we expect someone to come to us and say, "I'm sorry." Yes, that's the right thing to do. However, the Bible doesn't place that requirement on forgiveness. God commands us to be the initiators in the transaction. We should go to our brother and our sister and talk it out. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's critical in being able to move forward. And you also read all about that in Matthew 18:15. Now, we ain't gonna get full church on y'all here tonight. Y'all forget to be weekend for that. But yeah, Dominique is saying literally we have to forgive others, otherwise our prayers are hindered. So,
True.
yeah. So how do you feel about that? We actually spoke about it earlier. Like, we have to be the initiators of the transaction.
Yeah.
We can't sit down and wait until the person comes and says sorry, because then you're not really true a forgiving person.
True.
That's not genuine. You waited on this person to come and tell you sorry, so you're pouting all of that time, and you're just waiting for this person to come and tell you sorry, so you can say, "Oh, I forgive you. It's fine." But it doesn't happen like that.
That is
It,
true. But sometimes you see the two of you could have the same mindset. Okay, I don't want to wait. And then that person may come to you,
mm,
and apologize to you. So they beat you to apologizing.
right. And that's
But
good.
but yes, I mean, we're not supposed to wait. We're not supposed to wait because in the blink of an eye, something can happen. Like an earlier comment from someone saying that, somebody might die or, something. And then you are going to feel guilty that you didn't forgive, you know?
Yeah.
And that guilt will, and then that's a whole nother situation where you have to
Yep.
go in and forgive
Yep.
yourself and drain yourself. And
Yep. For sure.
yes,
Trey is saying, "Thank you, Trey. That feels unfair, though. I was in a situation where I was wrong, but I was also wronged. I took the initiative to apologize to the people I hurt, but not one of them has extended that same courtesy." Sorry to hear, buddy. That's
yeah,
rough, and that's great. No, you should be proud of yourself that you initiated that. Like,
yes,
don't feel bad about it. You initiated that. That's great stuff, Trey. Don't mind. It's something that's their problem. If they haven't apologized to you, that's their problem. That's their issue. You have done what you were supposed to do, so you should feel
correct.
good. You should feel good. Let that burden go. It's not as if you have apologized to them in your head and just expecting a response on them. You have actually told these people how you feel. And yes, it would be nice if people could come back and say, "Well, I understand, I accept your apology, da 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 da," but it always does not happen that way. And that's really letting go comes in. It's sad, it's a sad reality, but yeah,
And that also goes to show you that you are strong as well,
exactly.
because the person obviously wronged you, like you said, and you still went out and told them that you forgave them, etc. Whatever you did, and although they didn't accept it or they didn't come back and say, well, yeah, I have wronged you too, you're strong. And I'm sure that they're seeing that as well because I hope that you're doing great.
Yes. Guys, so right, we're gonna take a short break and we're gonna show a video by Alan Parr. He's gonna touch on forgiveness a bit. So we will be right back. Do not go anywhere. Remember to subscribe, like the video, take the time to share.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
How do you forgive someone who's hurt you when everything in you wants to hold on to the pain? That's what we're going to talk about today on The Beat. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Beat. And so before we answer the question, how do we forgive, I want to quickly suggest what forgiveness is not. Forgiveness does not mean the absence of pain. In other words, just because you forgive somebody does not mean that you will not experience or at times feel the pain of what they did to you. Second of all, forgiveness is not reconciliation. When God says forgive, He doesn't say that you have to get back into a relationship with this person and give them more opportunities to hurt you. No, forgiveness simply means to let go of the anger and the thoughts of revenge and bitterness that you're holding on to. Okay, so let's dive in. 4 practical steps on how we can forgive those who have hurt us. And the first is to trust God to deal with them. Forgiveness is actually an act of faith. Romans 12:17 says, "Vengeance is mine, I will repay, thus says the Lord." Whenever we hold on to anger and bitterness and thoughts and plans of revenge, what we're basically saying is, God, I don't trust you to deal with this person. I don't trust that you have really seen what has happened to me, and so that I must take matters into my own hands and make sure that this person gets what they deserve. And so forgiveness is relinquishing your control and truly giving it over to God and trusting Him to deal with it. Step number 2. Clearly communicate your pain to the person who has hurt you. And this is going to have 3 benefits. First of all, it releases you of carrying around this heavy burden that's been weighing you down. Second of all, it can help the other person not commit the same offense to somebody else, because the truth of the matter is they may not even realize how deeply they hurt you in the first place, because oftentimes they've moved on with their life. Finally, it can open up the door for reconciliation, which is what God wants in the first place. The third step is probably the most difficult for most of us, and that is to pray for them. Matthew 5:44 says to love your enemies and to pray for those who persecute you. If you can get to the point where you are praying for somebody who's hurt you deeply, you have gotten to the point where you truly, sincerely wish the best for this person, and you're no longer wishing evil upon them. And so when God chooses to bless them, you're celebrating what God is doing in their life instead of hating on them. So remember, trust God to deal with the people who have hurt you deeply, clearly communicate your pain to the person who's hurt you, pray for them as difficult as it may be, and finally, stop talking negatively about them. This is one of the easiest ways for you to tell that you have not yet forgiven somebody. Because let's be honest, whenever we are angry and we feel like somebody has offended us, we want everyone we know and everyone they know to know how deeply they've hurt us. And oftentimes what we end up doing is we end up defaming this person's character without them being present to defend themselves. James 4:11 says, "Do not speak negatively or speak evil against one another." And there are all sorts of other scriptures that support the idea that slander is a sin. So if you want to forgive somebody, as difficult as it is, resist the temptation to speak negatively about this person. Now, I know that forgiveness is not easy, but understand that when we don't forgive, we're really only hurting ourselves. I heard a great quote that says that unforgiveness is like drinking a poison and yet expecting someone else to die. In other words, this person has already hurt you, and yet you're continuing to allow them to hurt you by giving them control over your own happiness, your own joy, and your own peace of mind. Remember that forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is for you.
Welcome back to Lewwe Chat, guys. That was How to Forgive When It Hurts by Alan Parr. I would put the link to the video in the description of this video when we're finished. But as you saw, it said forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is for you.
Yes.
Yes, and that's something that we need to remember because we think that we letting that person off the hook, and then we are not gonna have, we're not gonna feel, and no justice is being done to them. So why? And we think that forgiving, not forgiving them is gonna hurt them. No,
No.
because a lot of times that person moves on and just leaves you there.
Yeah.
They go on doing,
Uh,
Yes, it was a great video, Mario, for sure, for sure. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, I really enjoyed that video. What do you think,
he's
Jodine?
he spit out pure facts in that video.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, so Trey is saying, "Whoa, I never thought about it that way. To be honest, trusting God to take care of the other person." No, this is something we gotta remember, right? I can't remember the exact verse right now, but I would put it up. But when you see, is it's kind of funny because you want to forgive the person. And when something happens to your enemy, we as human beings, the first thing we do, we glad. We're glad to see it happening. We're glad to see destruction in this person's life. We're glad to see them lose the job after them wrong us. We're glad to see them fall down and bridge down in front of everybody and all over Twitter. Like, we're glad to see them things. But remember, I gotta get the verse though for you guys, but it says if it basically says like if you or if you find pleasure in the wrath that is going on to that person, then God will remove the wrath from that person. And then it's like, well, you happy to see this person suffering. You still have to have love in your heart. God is still expecting us to have love in our heart for that person. So you shouldn't be glad to see that person suffering. Let God take care of them. That's
Yeah.
them and God. Like, you should not be glad to see this person suffering. That's why it says to love your enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You see, and but sometimes, right, as
mm,
humans, when somebody
exactly.
does us something, I don't believe most of us, our first thoughts are, okay, let God deal with this person.
Right.
We are just upset and we want to see them pay, you know.
Yeah.
But then I'm hoping that most of us, if, after that has passed, we then take ourselves back and then realize, yes, God says vengeance is His, and when He repays you good, better than how we would think of repaying you for what you have done wrong to us. You know?
Exactly. And a
Yeah.
lot of the times when we see the wicked people or the people who have done wrong to you thriving in life, and you are just there, like, you know,
Yeah. But then
like,
that's just us looking in.
exactly,
Probably have
exactly.
so much right.
So then, and that's when the bitterness starts too, because you start to get so bitter just for that reason. But you
Yeah.
gotta remember, we are put here to love, and we gotta love through. It's hard, and that's why that's why it's one of the most commanded things. It's hard, but it is important that we do it. Yeah. Now, guys, we're going to talk about creating a culture of forgiveness in the home. Now, this is something that is extremely necessary, especially today in today's world.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about it's extremely important that parents look to create an environment where forgiveness is encouraged. This will entail that parents should apologize to children for when they do something wrong to set that example for the children, so that when they go out to the world, it will become like second nature to them. No, no, parents. I know. And the poll, we can release the answers to the poll soon. The polls were hilarious. We thank you guys for your contribution. Like, I remember one response I was always getting was forgiveness and at home. You mean come and eat, come for food, the food ready? I
Yes.
mean, I got so many responses to this poll. Like, yeah, but we parents need to exercise apologizing to your children, because then when you do something wrong and your child can clearly see that you have done something wrong, especially if it's something you've taught them not to do, and you know they caught you and saw you, and you don't apologize and you just shrug, and that pride is there. How can you expect your child to apologize to anyone on the outside or even to you when they do something wrong? That
Exactly.
same pride, that same example you are setting for them, they're going to do.
Yep.
So yeah, it really benefit. It does not benefit anyone. So it's good that if parents practice apologizing to their children and letting the children know that they forgive them for things that they've done. So you would set that example in your family from early, so that your children can go and do the same thing to others in society. What is your take on that?
Because a popular one is a lot of children like to do what they see and not what they hear. But
Right.
that is so interesting and funny because one of my parents actually apologizes, like, I'm sorry. But the other one, they
Mhm.
would offer food. They would come in a joking way to lighten the atmosphere so you could forget that, anything ever happened and just act as normal. And I would know that, yeah, that is your way of saying, okay, I'm sorry. And sometimes it's hard for them to say sorry. Being the
Yeah.
bigger person, it's hard for them to say sorry. So I guess a little icebreaker before you have any sort of
Right.
serious
Right. Right.
conversation
Right.
might be good.
Yeah, because and that happens because like they're not accustomed.
Yes.
Because their parents might have not told been like that with them, so it's hard for them to do that as well.
Yeah.
So but I don't have any children, but I could confess to the same thing. Like I would always break the ice first before apologizing. Like sometimes like I don't even say sorry. Like I would just, you want this, you want that, or would tell a joke and get into a conversation, say talk about something that happened at work, and you just create, you're creating a different atmosphere just by talking about other things.
But I
you know
think this is something relating to men do. I think men don't like to apologize, but that's a whole different story. So y'all
Guys
will
in the comments, please keep calm, please keep calm, please keep calm, guys. Right, so Berlinda is saying, I apologize to my son if I feel like I have handled a matter better. I talk to him, I get his feedback, and I tell him correct me if I am a bit off. That is great. That's
yeah.
great stuff. So Trey is asking, but why is it so hard for parents though? Do they think that they lose some authority in admitting that they're wrong? That's a very good perspective.
I think it's
Oh,
mainly because they feel they're the adults in this situation and they're always right. They're
right.
always right.
Always right.
Yeah.
Right. That pride is there, definitely. But it's good if parents will set that example, because they want to see the child do the same thing, they want the child to apologize, but yet they don't. So, and you got to realize children learn from examples, good
Yes.
or whether good or bad. So it's important that we apologize. Not we, because I'm not a parent. It's important that parents apologize to the children when they've done something wrong and accept that. You still want to let them know that you're in charge, yes. But
Yes.
yeah,
Correct.
yeah. So yeah, guys, and having the understanding that forgiveness is the key to having a happy family. It creates room for love to grow within that family, and the same forgiveness and love to expand towards other members of the society. Truth. So yeah, so you want to see that same forgiveness just spreading throughout society. No, guys, we can get into the polls now. Um, So it needs to be plain to church. The same, some parents are more caught up in exercising authority than simply reasoning with their kids.
That is so true.
And pray, it's true, and it does no good for anyone.
Exactly.
No, our poll, guys. Our first question we asked is, do you believe forgiveness is important? Thankfully, we received positive responses, all positive responses. I'm just going to read them here quickly. Yes, forgiveness is important. Absolutely. We are commanded to forgive. If we don't forgive others, how can God forgive us? So, yes, forgiveness is important. The fourth point was saying, do you mean stop talking to each other for about an hour and ask if you want food? Now, this is just one of the many comments I got like this. Yeah. Definitely not letting go is like drinking a poison and expecting others to die. Now we've seen that a lot. We've heard that a lot
Yeah.
tonight. It's something that we all should remember. You know. So I want to thank everyone that contributed towards the poll again. Yeah, so this was our second question. We had a lot of responses, but we could only filter some. Um, so our first point is no, I don't, because if I want to be forgiven by God, I have to forgive. Now that is great.
Yeah.
Sure, but it's my desire to be able to forgive as God has called me to. No, because if I don't forgive, it does more harm than good. Also, as a child of God, we should reflect His nature and extend His mercy and forgiveness to others. I'm glad we have so many children of God responded to this. It's great. The other person saying generally no, but it can be, especially when you know what they're going to do again. True. Sometimes the hurt is hard to get over, but it's because it's still in you. And that's true. That's real. We are human beings. We have feelings, and it's not like you can just tell somebody just get hurt, you just tell them, "Oh, just put your feelings aside, forgive the person." It doesn't happen like that.
It does
It
not.
does not happen like that, and that's very insensitive because that person might go end up forgiving you too. So you just adding to the load. To be honest, to
Right?
be honest, you just adding to the load. So that is never a good thing to do. Yeah, and this was our last response to this question. Saying, to be honest, yes. Not that I'm incapable of it. It just takes a very long time to let go of whatever resentment I feel towards a person. And I don't know why. A part of me wants the person to pay for what they've done somehow, but I've learned that that's not for me to decide because no one is guilt free. And if I was made to pay for it for how I hurt people, it makes no sense resenting someone who's probably moved on from how they have hurt you. And that's true. Because a lot of the times we stuck in unforgiveness and it's like this person did something so great to me. But I ain't forgiving them. I ain't care how close they were to me. I ain't care if it was a stranger. You did something to me, I ain't forgiving you. Like you gotta realize that person might feel sorry for a period of time.
Yeah.
That guilt might be there for a period of time, but especially if they have apologized to you and if they ask for your forgiveness and you still, rejecting everything, at some point that person is going to say, all right, well, I tried. And they're going to forgive themselves and they're going to move on with their life. They're going to excel. They're going to probably, you're going to probably butt up on them again. They're going to smile with you. Genuinely, you're going to smile with them. Well, you're angry. So at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, who is this affecting more?
Yeah.
No one is saying that you gotta, as it was said so many times, forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. No
Correct.
one is saying you have to get back in there with that person, but you should forgive them, even if you have to love them from a distance for a period of time.
Mhm.
You know, is important that you forgive because it's for you, it's for your sanity, it's for your peace, it's for your growth, it's for your flourishing in your relationship with God. So
Yeah.
it's important.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jodine?
That
Related
is,
to
yes. Like I've been saying, you have to forgive for your own peace, for your own well being. I mean, I see a commenter saying, what if they don't feel guilty at all? Sometimes that is going to be the case more often
right?
than you would want it to be the case. But you have to forgive because if you want a great relationship with God, you have to let go of all these hate, these impurities, and just cleanse ourselves to be like him if we're striving to be perfect. So you have to let it go. It will be hard, but you have to press on.
Yeah, like no one is saying forgiveness is easy. It is not. It is
It's
not.
not.
That is why it's important to surround yourself with people who can forgive and who
Yeah.
know who to love. Because then, if you are surrounded by people who are bitter towards everything, then you would adopt the same mentality. But we are
Correct.
going to get into that kind of discussion probably in another topic. But yeah, it is important that you align yourself with people who have that same mindset.
Yeah.
No, it's funny that that thought came to my head because I remember sometime back I saw this post and it was saying basically if you have a lot of friends who are like you and who think like you and who act like you don't really appreciate and love other people. You kind of love yourself. You understand? Because they were saying like these people are almost too like-minded. You don't have anyone in there who opposes your views, so you can't really truly say that you love other people. Because then when you get somebody in your circle who challenges you, it's like what is this? Why are you challenging me? I really don't like you. You should stop. Like, just leave. And that, when I saw that, that really stuck with me. Yeah. So we're gonna move on with the polls, and this was the last question that we had. Are apologies and forgiveness common in your household? Well, everyone in comments, you can let me know. This is a safe space. You can let me know if apologies and forgiveness is common in your
Yes.
household.
Yeah.
Right. So our first reply was yes. When there's a need for it, someone apologizes and the other forgives. It's great. But even in cases where there is no apology given, there is forgiveness. No, this is the type of household that we should be striving to have. Especially when they said, even when there's no apology, there's forgiveness. Next person is saying common no. They are made when necessary. However, there are not many offenses in our homes, so there is not a need for many apologies, etc. Fair enough, but you know, you're not common, so that's still something that can be worked on, even though there are not too many cases where you might need to apologize or whatever. It's still good for those few cases, whatever they might be, to have some forgiveness in there, an apology as well.
Correct.
Yeah, the other person is saying, well, you'll see, apologies I already can't say. Conflicts does resolve itself over time in this house. After a while, it goes back to normal. So now basically forgiveness is there, but can't say we actually apologize. That happens in a lot of households.
Yeah.
Again, we have what? You get a plate of food and a cup of tea. And that is my apology. That is it. Yeah, and I mean, that's what you were speaking about, creating that culture of forgiveness in your home. It's so important. Everything starts at home. The more we realize that, the how important it is to set these standards in the home first, and from early to, then we would go and our children would go to establish these same standards, and that's good because that's when you have the impact on society. In different households have similar mindset. So
That's
yeah.
correct.
Jodine,
Yeah.
how are you feeling?
I'm good.
You good? You
Yes, I
good?
am.
Right. So guys, we have the tip. We're gonna wrap up shortly, but we have the tip for you to show right now. So do not go anywhere. Remember to subscribe, like, share the live stream. We're gonna share the tip with you now. So I'll see you guys back in a minute. Welcome back, and those were our tips. Hope you guys enjoyed them. Remember, we actually post our tips on Instagram, so you can follow us on Instagram at Levy Chat. We're going to post it tonight, so you guys can share it and view it anytime. We have tips there from our previous episodes as well, from periods and mental health and relationships and mental health. Remember, you can always go back and watch those on our YouTube channel also, and you can always share them. You can always leave a like and a comment. No, guys, we just want to leave some takeaways with you tonight before we go. We just want to remind you that forgiveness is not easy. We never said it was easy. It's very hard, and it's going to be harder when you don't have that understanding of what true forgiveness is. So it's always important to know what true forgiveness is, why you should forgive, and the impacts of unforgiveness and the impacts of forgiveness, right? And also remember that if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, and there wouldn't be so much unforgiveness in the world. We all be smiling, happy, but that's not the case. It's not easy. And it's important to remember, guys, that everyone is not perfect. Everyone has their flaws. Some might seem greater than others, but there's no justification for why you should not forgive someone. It's a hard pill to swallow. I mean, sometimes I have struggled with forgiveness as well. Sometimes I still, could take a little longer than I should to forgive someone. So yeah. And also remember, as has been said many times, unforgiveness is like drinking a poison and expecting the other person to die.
Yeah.
Eugene, do you have any other takeaways to leave with everyone tonight?
Well, I'm sharing the same views as you because one of my biggest thing is that we need peace within ourselves. Yes, Joy. But yes, we need peace within ourselves, and that's one of the biggest thing that we need. So we have to do it for our own sake. Forget about everybody else. Like Glenn said, it's very hard, but once you get to that point, you would think to yourself, why was I even beaten up about this?
Exactly. Like, and you
Why?
would, and you don't. I don't want to say like you would realize that you wasted years. I don't let it be years. Don't let
Yeah,
it be years. And another thing we need to, one of the tips too, it was saying, don't let your family member leave home or go to sleep with unforgiveness in their heart,
yeah,
or you with unforgiveness in yours, because it's like you don't know when you see that person again. Is it's alright to say, man, I wake up yesterday and all the days before, so I might see them tomorrow. Anyway, like you might, but tomorrow is not promised. So why wait until tomorrow when you can do it today? Because I'm pretty sure none of us want to know, well, we could have forgiven someone for something which might have been really trivial too. Um, and God forbid they passed away or something, they don't wake up from the sleep. That is not a situation we want to put ourselves in. So it's important that we forgive when we know we should. Don't push it back. Don't ever push back your forgiveness or reschedule your forgiveness. All right.
exactly.
And also we need to remember that forgiveness is not for the other person, it is for you. Also, I just want to leave this last thing with you guys. Forgiveness gets easier when you remember the gift of grace from God. So just
Amen.
want you guys to remember that. And again, thank you for joining another episode of Levy Chat with our special guest here tonight, Jodine Dublin. Jodine, thank you for joining. And guys, Jodine is one of the viewers. Jodine was here from episode one. Jodine was so excited to be a part of tonight's show.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you, Jodine, for joining. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your contribution. It was really exciting to have you. Guys, show Jodine some love. Yeah, we will see you next time. Stay tuned for our next episode, the details of our next episode. So follow us on Instagram at Levy Chat. It's right there scrolling across the bottom so you all can see it. Don't tell me that you don't know how to spell it. You guys can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, we'll see you and have a good night.
Bye bye.